Hello and welcome back to the TS Collective. Today we're going to be playing some more World of Warships, and today I have a particularly special game for me. It is my very first Kraken Unleashed award, and this time I'm playing the Furutaka, which is the tier 5 Japanese cruiser. You can still see it's pretty relatively stock. I've only unlocked, I think, maybe one of the choices that you can get. I think it's the body B I unlocked. I have since unlocked body C with the help of this game. But also because I was researching this ship because, you know, I wanted to make a video, I wanted to make it interesting, and it's remarkably eclectic sort of background that it's had. Specifically during World War II, it had a lot of impact and a lot of influence on battles, and it was there from several of the most important battles in the Pacific theater, pretty much. It was originally launched in 1925 and it was commissioned in 1926, but it was sunk in 1942, so less than 20 years of actual service going on there. So spoiler alert, it got sunk. But I mean, the ship itself, starting World War II, it was part of the division that was helping to invade Guam. Coincidentally, the division that it was assigned to was Cruiser Division 6, which included the Aoba, which is the Tier 6? Yeah, Tier 6 Japanese cruiser. They're both heavy cruisers. So back to the game, though. I'm finally into a position where I can start firing. The gentleman next to me, I believe his name is Harlock something, the pink guy. You just keep an eye on him. He's fantastic. He has done such a good job, in spite of his pinkness. He supports the entire time as I'm running through here. He's nearby. He's helping. He's covering. He's firing at similar targets. So, props to him. And this is the first time I've ever seen an Iwaki Alpha in-game. I mean, I've heard of them, I've read about them on the wiki, the Warships wiki, but I really haven't seen them before. That's really cool. Alright, so I get a Citadel, and I've already got 4,300 damage. That's pretty badass right there. Now, I'm firing at that guy right there, and I didn't realize he was dead until I zoom in about 2 seconds later and figure it out myself. But back to the Furutaka. Furutaka. I can't remember the name sometimes. Also, the Cruiser Division 6, which the Furutaka was assigned to, assisted in the invasion of the Wake Island. The second invasion. First invasion failed miserably. The second invasion did, in fact, take the island. And later on, in January 1942, it supported troop landings at Rabaul in New Britain, as well as in New Ireland, and patrolled the Marshall Islands, trying to find the American fleet, which, there's only so much you can do. The American fleet was particularly good at hiding most of the time, which isn't to say they were cowards, they're just, not easy to find. In May 6th, 1942, the Furutaka was attacked by B-17 flying fortresses, but wasn't damaged. If you're trying to attack a not terribly small ship from the air, you got to be very lucky if you're not a dive bomber. So I see an Emerald in the distance, and I'm trying to get some good shots in on him, but the Iwaki A is kind of blocking me doing various things. And this island it's a very good spot here to hide behind this island, but it's kind of an obvious position, and if Monty Python's taught me anything, it's, don't pick the most obvious locations to hide. The Iwaki A is at 8.5 kilometers right now, so I really should be trying to fire in on him as much as possible. The Skinevny right next to me is actually pretty good as well. But the Iwaki A has grounded himself, so, brilliance. Coincidentally, I'm basically about to almost ground myself as well, so, people in glass houses really shouldn't throw stones. So the Furutaka, it's got very big guns. So it can, when it hits very hard. I mean, the chance to set a fire with the HE is actually like 19% or something ridiculous like that. Not that I ever see it, but you know, it's like that. So in this situation, I'm firing as much AP as possible because I know I can get citadels. And I'm getting citadels on this guy through the front and the back of this thing, and I nuke him with another citadel. So of all 4 shots I've hit, I've got 3 citadels. It's not bad. Not bad at all. Okay, all right, back to the history. So after it was attacked by the Flying Fortress, it participated in the Battle of Coral Sea. And for anyone who knows about the Battle of the Coral Sea, it's considered one of the major turning points in the Pacific theater. A lot of heavy losses on both sides. In particular, the Shokaku aircraft carrier was severely damaged. It had to retire, and the Furutaka actually escorted it back to Truk, where their anchorage was. This is where the USS Yorktown was severely damaged. And the Japanese completely believed that it was gone. It must have been sunk, or it must have been scuttled because it took so much damage. Which unfortunately was wrong, because in the Battle of Midway, the Yorktown appeared, launched a bunch of fighters and torpedo bombers and dive bombers, and assisted in destroying, I believe it was 3 Japanese heavy cruisers, heavy carriers. Alright, so I'm actually managed to get into a smoke screen set by one of the destroyers, I believe. And one of my torpedoes must have hit something. It was the Isislav from the other team. I was just lucky. I was firing torpedoes for the sake of firing torpedoes into the smoke. The possibility I might hit it. That Gnevny is the one who dropped the smoke, just so you know. Very good player, I thought. And this Kuma is trying to take him out, which he does, unfortunately. It's only so much I can do if I'm turned in the right direction, because the turret traverse on this is not very good at all. It's very slow. The reload's very slow. So I happen on this Kaiser. I have AP loaded, so I switch to HE. But I realize I'm basically by myself in the front, so everyone's going to be firing at me, so it's time to get out of dodge. As you can see, Harlock is right just ahead of me. Harlock Zero, that's his name. And he appears to have the exact same idea as me at the same time. So we're going to go on a little bit of a trek through around the islands, trying to flank around where these 3 enemy ships have sort of sequestered themselves. Try and get around them to see what we can do. After the Battle of Coral Sea, it went on. The Furutaka went on to be involved in the Battle of Savo Island, which is near Guadalcanal, if I remember correctly. Coincidentally, the Cruiser Division 6 included the Tenryu and the Yubari, 2 other Japanese heavy cruisers. To be fair, those are 2 light cruisers. But there are 2 Japanese cruisers in the game. So, you know, so many names that you recognize in this description. During this battle, they destroyed 3 major heavy cruisers of the U.S. Fleet. The USS Astoria, the Quincy, and the Vincennes. And the Astoria, that's a big ship. It's a what was it, a Pensacola? No, a New Orleans. So it's a big ship. It had big guns, and the Furutaka apparently helped destroy it. So there you go. And after that, unfortunately, it ended up in the Battle of Cape Esperance. Technically, it's the Battle of Savo Island 2, because it was roughly in the same area. And this is all in support of the battle around Guadalcanal. This is after the Americans had taken Henderson Airfield and started flying fighters off of it. Anyone who's played Medal of Honor will have played through the Guadalcanal section, and that was an absolute pain. And the American heavy cruisers, USS San Francisco and Salt Lake City, as well as the light cruisers, USS Boise and Helena, all equipped with radar, which the Japanese hadn't quite gotten into. And 5 destroyers were coming around Guadalcanal to try and block the entrance to the Sound, the Savoy Sound. The Helena spotted the fleet on radar. The Americans successfully crossed the T, which basically means that the Japanese were traveling in a straight line, and the Americans came right across in front of them in a line as well, but presenting as much of a broadside as possible while not allowing the Japanese to fire on them effectively. So they basically just fired ridiculously quickly, destroying a lot of things, taking a lot of hits on everything. And the Furutaka, the ship turned out of line of battle. And there goes the Iroslav. As I came around the corner with Harlock next to me, we came around behind the destroyer because he thought we were still coming in front of them. So, flanking around. It's not only for destroyers. So the Furutaka was actually hit by torpedoes, but they either failed to detonate or they missed. They failed to detonate or miss, but they were fired at the Furutaka. The Furutaka was hit by a destroyer, and it caused flooding. And during the battle, about 90 shells hit the Furutaka, and one of its torpedoes was hit and starting fires. The Furutaka sank stern first in 2:28 in the morning on the 12th of October. 514 survivors, as well as the captain, were picked up by 3 destroyers. 33 were killed, 110 went missing, and the Americans picked up 115 Furutaka crew as prisoners of war. So, not the most glorious end, but certainly a very active role during the Pacific Theater. So right at the moment, I have 3 kills. I've got a torpedo kill. I've got, I believe, 2 gun kills. And this Kaiser, his guns are pointed the completely wrong direction. So I'm basically watching to see where these airplanes are coming from, because I can feel the aircraft carrier freaking out because I'm coming nearby. I'm right up next to him. Well, in terms of the game, I'm basically up next to him. So I finally take out the Kaiser after sustained barrage. I'm up to 4 kills now. Plenty, not so as many fires as I'd prefer, but not bad. So I've got a torpedo bombers coming in. I slow a little bit. I wait to see if they're going to drop. And yeah, there they go. Okay. And he dropped too early, or too short a distance. They didn't have enough time to arm, so they just bounced off my hull. So there you go. So at this point, both Harlock and I are right in this little area. We're both going to take on this Langley. And I'm annoyed, personally, because I should have been firing AT the entire time. More explosions, more fires, etc., etc. But for some reason, I've switched to AP in a minute. It's very odd. I've disappointed in myself when I was watching this earlier. I'm thinking, what are you doing? Why are you switching HE? Come on, really? Oh well. But yeah, I don't have that much experience with the Pacific Theater. I mean, obviously, I'm not American. I'm not Japanese or Australian, so it's really not in my wheelhouse. But it is a major portion of the war. I really should know more than I do. The Harlock missed an obvious and easy torpedo run there. Granted, my torpedoes missed as well, but that's before he did anything, to be fair. And we're both just firing here. And because Harlock's right next to me, I don't really want to fire through him because I don't like getting pink like he is. So at this point, I start slowing down. I'll let him go ahead of me because the Phoenix typically is much faster than the Furutaka. And just wait for him to get past all my guns, and then I keep firing again. And this actually is one of the few times when my secondaries actually do some good work because I'm close enough. Secondaries have that very good range, but it's bad. They're not bad at all. They do decent damage if they weren't firing AP all the time, like some of them are. And there is my Kraken Unleashed, the very first one I've ever gotten in my entire existence. So it shows you just how bad a player I am. I do think I tend to die too often. Oh well. Actually, I am reading or listening to an audiobook right now that involves the Pacific War a lot. Pacific Theater, should I say. If I can bring it up real quick, I should have it somewhere. Oh, no, that's not it. It's basically a what if something happens. So people from the future get transported back to the past, and what happens when that kind of thing occurs. So it's very sort of existential, you know. You never know quite what's going to happen, but let's just see what happens. Let's just run with it. And it involves Nimitz and Spruance and all these other people that your names are recognized and that kind of thing. So Harlock and I have both turned back towards the east because we need to try and cap. We need to win this. We're ahead, but we're not that ahead, and they've still got 4 major ships left. And really, you can't. We don't have the safety net like we need one. But there's a Zuho that's escaped us. I thought he was closer. I expected him to be much closer than he was. But apparently he was way faster than I anticipated. I'm not terribly sure why I activated the hydroacoustic search, but, you know, I must have used it for the sake of using it. And now I'm right at the very, very long range of the Furutaka, and I'm just trying to get any hits on him as possible, trying to mess with him, keep him occupied. I really should be using HE so that I could be, you know, burning him so he can't launch fighters. Though at this point in time, I don't know if he even has fighters anymore. I would have expected him to have launched some by now. Granted, I don't play aircraft carriers. I'm terrible at that kind of play. I've tried playing it before in the beta and stuff like that, and I was horrendous. It's not worth mentioning just how awful it was. So, Harlock and I both walk into the cap, and there's a almost 3 minute capture window. So I figured, you know, let's try and hunt down this carrier. Why not? And, you know, I really haven't done that much damage. I've done 52,000 damage, which, it's not bad for... Okay, for me, it's not that bad. But in the grand scheme of things, it's really not something to write home about. And to be fair, some of my kills were a little bit of stealing from other players. But for the most part, it's all about getting your ship into a position that it can do the most effective work. It's particularly important for battleship crew, captains, because they don't have the ability to move like cruisers, like destroyers do. And you need to position yourself way ahead of time to be most effective. And you need to plan ahead. You need to get yourself into the right positions. Cruisers have a lot more flexibility, but again, you don't have the standing, I can take this kind of damage all the time, HP pools and armor. So you've got to, you know, take your opportunities when they come. With destroyers, you've got to use ambushes, you've got to hide, you've got to use your smoke as often as possible. And ultimately, it's whoever's got the best position in any game will almost always win, assuming, you know, everything's fair. So I finally switched back to HE. I actually got a Citadel with HE, which I love. I don't get very often, and I got another one just now. It's glorious when that happens, because it always looks like it does so much damage. The aircraft carrier is actually worried because he doesn't think he doesn't have enough fighters left, and I'm like, you know what, we're about to cap. Alright, and we've won. Thank you guys very much for watching. I do appreciate you coming by, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye. If you have enjoyed this video, please consider hitting the like or subscribe button. It really helps the channel. Thank you very much for watching.